worst thing in the day.
Right?
Well, I'll go with yours.
Billy, you can sit wherever you like.
No, I'm gonna go the other side. Because they say you people are mean.
Yes, Bill, it is.
Mine's gonna be easy too.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a public hearing of the Metropolitan Board of Zoning Appeals, Division 3. I'm Joanna Taft, Chairperson of Division 3. Other board members present today are, to my right, Bart Brown, who we're welcoming for his first meeting of the board, and then Cameron Radford, and then to my left, Roderick Bohannon. Legal counsel for the board today is Chris Steinmetz. Staff members present today from the Division of Planning are Eddie Honea, Principal Planner 2, Jeffrey York, Senior Planner, Robert Eulenhake, Senior Planner, Marlene Iraheta, Senior Planner, Genesis Hill, Associate Planner, Heather Steffen, Senior Specialist and Secretary to the board. Matt Pleasant is the current Planning Administrator. The board has copies of the zoning ordinances that will be incorporated by reference into the record of each case heard today. The proceedings of this hearing are governed by the board's rules of procedure. The expedited cases will be heard immediately after all requests for continuances or withdrawals. As each non-expedited case is called, petitioners or remonstrators interested in that particular case will please stand. Those who intend to testify will please remain standing and be sworn. Petitioners should be on your left and remonstrators on your right as you face the board. Those who testify will state their name and address for the record before beginning to testify. Petitioners and persons appearing in support of the case being heard shall have a maximum of 15 minutes for the presentation of evidence, statements, and arguments in support of the petition. Remonstrators and persons appearing in opposition to the petition shall have a maximum of 15 minutes for the presentation of evidence, statements, and arguments in opposition to the petition. Staff will then present the administrator's comments regarding the petition. The petitioner will then be allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal and a summation of the case. Rebuttal must be limited to the subject matter of the initial presentations. Remonstrators will then be allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal of the petitioner's rebuttal evidence and a brief closing statement. No further evidence, statements, or arguments will be heard unless it's at the discretion of the board. Please limit your testimony and evidence to the matters covered in the statutory requirements, which must be met in order for the board to grant a variance. If the petitioners have failed to comply with all notice requirements as stipulated by the board's rules of procedure, including posting of the notice sign on the subject property at least 23 days prior to the hearing, the board may continue the petition. Anyone at this hearing who thinks complete and proper notice has not been given and would like the petition continued due to lack of proper notice must bring this matter to the board's attention at the beginning of the hearing. The board may impose various conditions or commitments as amendments before reaching a decision on certain petitions. The installation of landscaping and screening, the paving of parking area, and the dedication of rights-of-way are examples. These conditions and commitments are an integral part of the board's decision and must be met for a granted variance to be valid. Compliance with the conditions imposed by the board must be proved by an affidavit of compliance submitted by the petitioner within 30 days of completion. Unless otherwise specified, an improvement location permit must be obtained prior to the establishment of the authorized improvements. Failure to comply with any conditions or commitments of a variance grant is a violation enforceable by the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services. A person may file a written request to receive notice of a filing of a petition for judicial review of a decision of the board. The written request must be filed within 5 days of the board's decision and must include the person's full name and correct mailing address and a reference to the board's petition number. Forms are available and may be obtained from the board's secretary. Please be advised that contacting members of the board regarding a matter pending before the board outside of this public hearing process is prohibited. Please be courteous and orderly at all times, and please be sure all cell phone ringers are turned off. Please note that there are only 4 board members present today. Your request will need 3 votes to take action. If an indecisive vote occurs, your petition will be automatically continued to the next hearing of the board. We will take this into consideration when hearing special requests. So what that means is if you would like to ask for continuance to be heard next month instead of this month because we only have 4 board members, we will generally be favorable to that type of request in this situation. If there's anyone in the audience who has questions about our procedures, if not, we will, before we hear special requests, I'll ask for a waiver of our rules of procedure to allow the board to vote for all expedited petitions and adopt their findings of fact without any additional testimony from the individual petitioners. So I need a motion from the board.
Bohannon, so moved.
I need a second.
Second.
I'll now ask for a vote. I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Radford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft, yes. And now we will consider special requests and continuances at this time.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Niemeyer, and I represent Convenience Centers, LLC, regarding matter 2022-DV3-022. And in your packet, it starts on page 55, if that is helpful. I am requesting a continuance of approximately 7 to 8 weeks in order to allow sufficient time for the petitioner to submit revised site plan, as well as we know with the revised site plan we'll have to give new notice, but we believe that we can come up with a better site plan that will meet much less resistance and make a final hearing much easier.
Do you have the date September 20th in mind? Does that work for you?
September 20th would be fine.
Okay. Let's hear from, well, first of all, yeah, let's hear from staff. No, are there demonstrators in the audience?
I have not.
Okay, I don't see any. Let's hear from staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Taft and members of the board. Staff has no objection to the 2-month continuance to the September 2022 hearing date, and that would be with additional notice.
Okay. So Is there a motion to continue this to the 20th?
Bohannon so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft? Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Emily Duncan, and I'm here representing case number 222-DV3018, asking for a 1-month continuance, please.
Is this 24 East
Yes,
East
ma'am.
Street? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, do you have a reason for the continuance, or?
Continue dialogue between staff and the petitioner, and
Okay.
waiting for some more site plans.
Okay, great. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 DV3018? Seeing none, let's hear from staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Taft and members of the board. Staff is aware that the petitioner is seeking to file a revised site plan. Therefore, we do not have an objection to the continuance request. That would be without additional notice. That'll be everything. Thank you.
Okay, so we're continuing this to, the request is for the August 16th?
Yes,
meeting?
please.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Bohannon so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll now ask for a vote. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 DV3018 has been continued to the August 16th hearing.
Thank you.
My name's Wanda Ladd. I'm here for the petition number 2022-DB3-028. I'd like a continuance for a month. I did not receive the petition, nor did several of my neighbors, and I don't think it's fair until everyone is notified of this hearing.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 DV3028? Could you, are you against the continuance? Then please step forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Uche Unogu. Address is 4017 South State Avenue. I am the petitioner. So we had a case last year like this, and she came and said she didn't get the notice. These are my neighbors. They live right next to me. The sign is there. It's been there. The notice has been sent out. We sent the affidavits. We've got letters of support from people that got the notice. We have my children. They couldn't go to school because of this hearing. We have him left his job. He left his job. You know, we couldn't go to our gymnastics. I couldn't go to work. It's not easy to be here today. So we anticipated this would happen, and I had hoped they would have a better reason. But we can prove without a doubt the sign is there right now, and they've seen it, and I don't know why they want to do this, but we are ready to go forward. And so that's my spiel. And I think, does anybody else want to speak? Yes, please.
You'll have to step forward.
Yeah, so I'm Ella Onogu, 4017 South State Avenue for my address. So they are our neighbors, so they see the sign daily. She took a picture on the day the sign was placed right in front of our yard. So I don't know why they want a continuance. We just want to get over with it today.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's hear from staff. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my name is Matt Conrad. I address 13268 Mink Lane, Carmel, Indiana. So I'm not a resident. Jay happens to be my brother, and so just came in support of that. With the situation, I think once we get into the petition, you'll see is something that would be certainly better to be ruled on sooner rather than later. What his family is having to endure is something no family should, and so I would certainly speak in recommendation of hearing this today.
So we're going to hear from staff now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Taft, members of the board. The petitioner did file an affidavit of compliance indicating that he met all the notification requirements. Sometimes after petitions are mailed, we do not have control as to how petitions are delivered by the post office. Staff has received reports on other unrelated petitions that some notices have not been delivered. Recently, staff has noticed there has been a reduction in staff in the post office, so they could only assume this might be a reason why. Nonetheless, as staff indicated, the petitioner has submitted an affidavit that the notification requirements were met. Staff is prepared to go forward with the hearing today. The remonstrator requesting the continuance did discuss, come into our office last week on Thursday, I believe, and did discuss this petition with me. Was aware of the petition at that time, although that was not 23 days out as required, but has been aware of the petition for some time in staff's opinion, and staff will be happy to answer any questions.
So I'm going to, for this to be continued, a board member would need to make a motion. Before I ask if there's a motion, I just want to mention again, we have 4 board members. So for the petitioner, it looks like staff is recommending denial, and but you still want to go ahead even though we only have 4 board members.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion to continue it? Okay. There's no motion, so we're going to go ahead and hear it today. Thank you.
Chairperson Taft, members of the board, staff will draw your attention to petition number 2022 DV3-024 located at 6832 East 82nd Street. Staff is recommending approval of this petition. However, staff did receive 2 letters of opposition. Therefore, staff would like the board to poll the audience. If there are no remonstrators present, then this petition could be moved to the expedited portion.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who is interested in 2022 DV3-024, someone who would be a remonstrator? I don't see anyone, so we can move that. So do we need to vote on that for the expedited? Yes. I need a motion.
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft, yes. This will be
Thank you.
placed at the
Staff will
bottom
also
of
draw your
our...
attention to petition number 2022 UV3-005 located at 3031 Chase Street. After the publication of the docket, the petitioner did contact staff and indicate they would like to withdraw this petition. That would just require the board's acknowledgement.
It is acknowledged.
Thank you. Staff will draw your attention to petition number 2022 UV3-010 located at 7500 East 30th Street. Staff is requesting on behalf of the petitioner that this petition be continued for cause to the August 16th hearing without additional notice to allow time for the petitioner to submit additional information to the file. Staff has no objection to this request.
Is there anyone in the audience who has interest in 2022 UV3-010?
UV3-010, 7500 East 30th Street.
Yes. Okay. So they're asking for a continuance to August 16th. No one's in the audience against it. So we need a motion.
Bohannon, so move.
I need a second.
Second.
I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Radford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft? Yes.
Thank you. Staff will also draw your attention to petition number 2022 UV3-014 located at 7715 East 42nd Street. Staff is requesting on behalf of the petitioner that this petition be continued for cause to the August 16th hearing without additional notice to allow time for the petitioner to submit additional information to the file. Staff has no objection to this request.
Is there anyone in the audience who has interest in 2022 UV3-014? Are you against it being continued?
I'm a remonstrator, but I'm confused because
Step forward, please.
I have 2022 DB 3014 337 Parkway.
Staff indicated UV3014.
Oh, I'm
We're not
sorry.
talking about the petition that you're here for.
I apologize.
Okay. All right, so we don't have a remonstrator. Is there a motion to continue?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon,
Bohannon, yes.
Radford,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 UV3011 has been, no, 014 has been continued to our August 16th meeting.
Thank you. Staff will draw your attention to petition number 2022 UV3018 located at 7801 East 38th Street. Staff is requesting on behalf of the petitioner that this petition be continued for cause to the August 16th hearing without additional notice to allow time for additional information to be submitted to the file. Staff has no objection to this request.
Is there anyone in the audience who is interested in 2022 UV3018? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon,
Bohannon, yes.
Radford,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 UV3018 has been continued to our August 16th meeting.
Staff will also draw your attention to petition number 2022 UV3019 located at 1245 Harding Court. Registered Neighborhood Organization has filed a timely or automatic continuance continuing this petition to the August 16th, 2022 hearing. This would just require the board's acknowledgement.
It is acknowledged.
Thank you.
Chairperson Taft and members of the board, staff will draw your attention to petition 2022-DB3-009B. This petition was previously heard last month, but was split into Part A and B. Part B has been requested to, well, the petitioner had requested to withdraw this portion and would require the board's acknowledgement.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. Are you talking about 2022 DV3009B?
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
and they're withdrawing?
Yes.
It is acknowledged.
Thank you. Staff would draw your attention again to 2022 UB3-009, address at 2650 North Franklin Road. Staff is requesting a continuance for cause on behalf of the petitioner in order to allow them additional time to provide additional information to the case, and staff would not have an objection to this continuance.
And is this a continuance to August 16th?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 UV3009? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon,
Bohannon, yes.
Radford,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 UV3009 is continued to our August 16th hearing.
Thank you. Staff will draw your attention to petition 2022-UV3-011, address at 175 Southern Plaza Drive. Staff is requesting a continuance for cause on behalf of the petitioner to continue this to the August 16th hearing without additional notice so that they can file additional information to the case file. Staff does not have an objection to this continuance request.
I'm going to ask you to read the address again. I'm having a problem hearing you. I'm sorry.
175 Southern Avenue Drive.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone in the, and you said to the August 16th hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 UV3011?
Actually, I got clarification, if I could, on the address. It's different than what she said.
Yeah, we were confused by the address because the first time it seemed, she said it.
Avenue. So there's a Southern
Avenue.
Southern Plaza.
So this is Southern Plaza Drive, not Southern Avenue.
I apologize. Okay, so it's 2022-UB3-011, address at 175 Southern Plaza Drive.
Okay, great. So is there a remonstrator in the audience interested in this case? No. Is there a motion?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to poll the board. Bohannon,
Bohannon, yes.
Radford,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 UV1011 has been continued to our August 16th hearing.
Thank you. Staff would draw your attention again to petition 2022-UV3-020, address at 4840 South Meridian Street. A timely automatic continuance request was filed by the petitioner continuing this matter to the August 16, 2022 hearing date, and that would require the board's acknowledgement.
It is acknowledged.
Thank you.
Chairperson Taft, members of the board, staff would draw your attention to 2022 UV3015. The property address is 511 Madison Avenue. Staff is requesting a continuance on the petitioner's behalf so that the petitioner can submit information that's vital to this petition going forward. This would be a continuance without notice to the August 16th date, and again, that's without notice.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 UV3015? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to pull the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft? Yes. 2022 UV3015 has been continued to our August 16th hearing.
And then secondly, staff would draw your attention to 2022 DB3026. Property address is along the 1800 block of North Meridian Street. Staff requesting a continuance on petitioner's behalf. The first request to your August 16th date. Petitioner is out of town. There's not been any opposition to this request. It'll be without notice to, again, to your August 16th hearing.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who has an interest in 2022 DV3026? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Bohannon, so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to pull the board. Bohannon?
Bohannon, yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Taft, yes. 2022 DV3026 has been continued to the August 16th hearing.
Thank you.
Chairperson Taft and members of the board, staff would draw your attention to 2022 UV3017 for 1146 Tecumseh Street. On July 11th, the petitioner's representative indicated that they would like to withdraw this petition. This would require your acknowledgement.
It is acknowledged.
Staff would draw your attention to 2022 DV3025 for 6339 Myrtle Lane. The petitioner has filed a timely automatic continuance, continuing it from today's hearing date to the August 16th hearing. This would require your acknowledgement.
It is acknowledged. Unless there are any other requests, we can continue with the expedited docket.
Ms. Hill, was there going to be any, well, I guess we can wait for the hearing, about the amendments to the Parkway petition?
Oh, yes. I would prefer to wait until the hearing.
(2022) DV3027, 1609 Oliver Avenue, Center Township, Council District 16, zoned I-4 and C7. Tway Properties LLC by Ryan Rediger, requesting a variance of development standards to provide for a building addition with a 14.4-foot front setback from Harding Street, 30-foot setback required. 2022 DV3024, amended petition. 6832 East 82nd Street, Lawrence Township, Council District 3, Zone C4, Midwest Maintenance and Construction Incorporated by Justin Schleicher, requesting a variance of development standards of the Consolidated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance to provide for a 25-foot tall pylon sign located 70 feet and 290 feet from other freestanding business signs, 300-foot separation required, being the third freestanding sign on the frontage of 82nd Street, maximum one freestanding sign permitted per frontage, one sign permitted per premises within 660 feet of an interstate. Is there anyone here today in opposition to either of these petitions that I have just read into record? Chairman Taft, that is the end of the expedited docket.
Okay, we will now vote on the expedited cases.
So it's the bottom one over here. Yeah.
Got it, I promise you've got it. Go ahead in the top right. No, in the pocket. Top right pocket. And then the one right has out. Yeah. I know. Well, I'm talking right, but I'm not. For petitions 2022 DV3027 and 2022 DV3024, 4 votes cast, 4 yes votes. These petitions are approved. Petitioners here for those are free to leave if you have no additional business with the board.
So we'll proceed with the non-expedited cases.
(2022) DV3014, amended petition. 337 Parkway Avenue, Center Township, Council District 16, Zone D5. Platinum SPE LLC by Paul Carroll, requesting a variance of development standards of the Consolidated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance to provide for a duplex on a 4,950 square foot, 45-foot wide lot. Minimum 7,200 square feet, 60-foot wide lot required, with an 8-foot front setback, 10 feet required, with a 14.7-foot rear yard setback, 20 feet required, and an open space of 47%, 60% required. All persons speaking on this today, please step forward to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Paul Carroll. Office is at 13 North State Street, Suite 241, Greenfield, Indiana. I represent the petitioner Platinum SPE LLC with respect to petition 2022-DV3-014. We're here requesting variances as to open space, a non-compliant lot, and front yard setback. Through amendments, we've, I believe, removed the necessity of a rear yard setback and the level to which the open space requirement was requested. This petition relates to a vacant lot where the prior structure had been demolished. Historically, this lot contained 2 detached single-family residences per the Sanborn maps. Our request is to construct a new duplex on the site. We've worked with staff as well as the local neighborhood association in an effort to amend our plans fairly considerably to satisfy both staff and the neighborhood association. I believe the neighborhood association has provided a letter of support. We've reduced, as I mentioned, the open space request from, I believe, what was a 47% request for a duplex to what is now 55% open space. The rear yard setback, because in working with staff, we removed the detached garage, which increased the open space to 55%, where 60% is required. The subject parcel sits within the traditional neighborhood area, which provides for a wide range of residential uses from single-family detached all the way to large multifamily housing. The subject parcel would be available for, you'd be able to construct a multi-unit home on this property subject to a variance because the lot is non-compliant as it stands. In 2019, the ordinance was modified to provide for additional density in this area. We believe a duplex is the highest and best use of this particular lot. We strove to get as close to meeting all of the development standards as we could get, given the non-compliant nature of the lot as it exists today. As I mentioned, we worked with the Bates-Hendricks Neighborhood Association as well as staff. As you'll note, a number of continuances in this file in order to try and satisfy as many folks as we have. We do believe there's a remonstrance here today. As I understand it, the remonstrance exists as to duplexes in general. There's really an impasse with respect to that remonstrance, so I don't believe we're going to be able to reach an agreement with the individual remonstrator. But hopefully, as staff will support, we have, I think we've done all we can to this petition to satisfy the density, encouragement of the ordinance, the non-compliant nature of this lot, and we would request that the board approve the construction of the duplex conditioned on the variance requests we made.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any remonstrators present?
Hello. My name is Jean Salzman, and I'm opposed to the variance petition at 337 Parkway. I am a homeowner at 330 Parkway, and I've lived there for 24 years. The prior variance request for two houses on this property, which had the same developer, was denied in 2019. The staff report for the February 19, 2019 hearing states the existing parcel can have only one dwelling. So either the existing dwelling could be remodeled or it could be demolished and a new dwelling constructed. Now, the part of the ordinance that went with this reasoning, I will read here. The ordinance has an exception that allows single-family dwellings to be constructed on original platted lots or any lots created prior to 1989 that have not been combined. It does not, however, provide that exception for partial lots after the partial lots have been combined into one parcel, as has occurred with this parcel. Once combined, the legal nonconforming status of the previous lots terminates, so the existing parcel can only have one dwelling. So either the existing dwelling could be remodeled or it could be demolished and a new dwelling constructed. In this case, the developer began work on the existing house that was circa 1890, and at one point, and this is after the hearing had already been established and had been continued a number of times. So they did begin work on that house. Eventually, they stopped work. So the hearing, the variance petition by the same developer was denied, and they were told they could have one house on this lot. Now, the petitioner speaks to previous houses on this lot. Now, it is a non-compliant lot, as the petitioner said. Historically, the two houses that were there were very small and narrow houses. And I have, well, you won't be able to see the picture, but the one that was there was built in 1890. It was 1,248 square feet. And that's a two-story, so we're talking about 600-ish feet on each floor. So they were very small houses. In addition, the second house that was in existence at one time can no longer be seen on the zoning maps after 1966. So for the remaining time from 1966 until 2020, when the developer tore down the historic house on that lot. There was only one house with a deck and landscaping, trees, and so on. So this is what has been in existence in the 24, going on 25 years that I have lived there. Further, the petitioner says that multifamily housing is prevalent. This is not true. What we have moved toward in Bates Hendricks neighborhood is single-family dwellings. For example, when I first moved to 330 Parkway, the house next to me, 326 Parkway, had 4 units, and I was told right away that there was a hearing for that, and that was moved into, they were eventually into just a 1-unit home. So that is not the direction that we are going. Petitioner further says that a duplex is the highest and best use. Why? I don't find that to be the case. Myself and the homeowners, I have 7 letters here, are very much opposed to a duplex on this lot. Is there a hardship here? None. The developer could have built 1 house on the lot after the previous various petition was denied on February 19, 2019, without any hardship at all. This is a case of the developer coming into the neighborhood without regard to the existing homes on the block. Rather than creating a plan that would work well with the other houses nearby, they created a plan for maximum profit. By overcrowding the lot, they are hoping to generate 2 times the amount of money, double what 1 house would bring in. The variance petition is not about what is best for this parcel of land or the streetscape or the surrounding property owners. Our streetscape that we have worked so hard at is at stake here. Now, the houses surrounding on the corners, so this particular parcel is on an alley. My house is on the alley, we used to call catty corner. So that's direct my view. So my house is a cottage-style house, 1.5 story. Across the street from me is a 1-story house with a similar cottage-style look. The house on the other point next to me is a 2-story house with basically a cottage-style look, 2-story. What the developer is proposing here is a duplex, which is essentially 2 houses, just as they were told they could not do, but it is 2 residences with a 33.1 feet highest point. So for my house, my cottage-style house, that would be, I have 10-foot tall ceilings, that would be more than 3 times the height of my ceiling. So we do not feel that this is a good choice in any way, shape, or form for this particular lot. We stand by what the previous planner had said, was that that 1 house should be on this lot. And let me read a little bit from some of the letters. This is Zach Morgan, 338 Parkway Avenue, which would be across the 1 over and across the street from this property. He says, first and foremost, the parcel is not 2 full lots. So the lots in my neighborhood are 30 feet wide. So this lot is 45 feet wide. Now, a duplex is required to have, of course, 60 feet. 60 feet, that's quite a big difference. So essentially, this property is equal to 1.5 lots. Second, allowing a variance to this extreme with a duplex would encourage a practice of overloading lots. This congestion would cause not only an issue with overcrowding, but is also a safety concern. due to it being on the alley. Finally, it would also require the removal of mature trees on the lot. This would, in case, remove some character and environmental strongholds of the streetscape. We care greatly about our neighborhood, and specifically our section of Parkway Avenue. It is our wish to continue to have an attractive streetscape where the houses complement one another. The submitted plan does not complement other houses on the street. As such, I respectfully request that this petition for 337 Parkway Avenue be denied. And then I have other letters that with similar issues, the removal of the trees, because there's not enough room to have landscaping, the size of the lot, overcrowding, aesthetic issues, deficient setbacks, lack of open space. James Griffin, 329 Orange Street, which is just the street right behind. This is a case of overloading the lot. You can word it any way you want. A duplex is still two houses. It wasn't allowed to begin with, as the previous petition was denied. Putting two houses on the lot with attached garages. Now, I know they removed the garages, and to speak to that, to remove the garages does not fix the issue. As we know, that it's just another variance petition away to add those garages right back. So the developer did not fix the issue of overcrowding the lots. They just removed the garages, which once someone moves in, all they have to do is file for a variance petition and put those garages right back on. So we don't feel that this is in any way taking care of the issue of too much house for this lot. Back to hardships. Is there a hardship here? None. The staff report attempts to validate the construction of a duplex on the site by referring to other variances that have been granted and states that this is a plan more consistent with the development pattern of the neighborhood, which we don't agree with. It also says on the staff report on page 36, under findings of fact, the new construction will not detract from property values, as it will benefit the area to add new construction with more density. We, the surrounding homeowners, believe this plan would seriously detract from property values, as it is not consistent in appearance, height, or width with the houses in the Parkway Avenue streetscape. And we are the homeowners that are surrounding. We are the ones that have to live with whatever is put on this property, and we do believe that this will definitely impact our property values. Also on page 36 of the staff report, under findings of fact number 3, it says, the strict application of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Now, they're saying there's a hardship here. Existing use is residential, and the lot is smaller than zoning minimums, resulting in a need to reduce open space requirement and setbacks to allow square footage for a newly constructed duplex. The proposed structure is similar in comparison to multi-unit houses permitted in D5 zoning districts, but cannot be built as proposed, as the structure more resembles a duplex than a multi-unit two-unit dwelling, which just goes against what the petitioner is speaking here. So in this case, on page 197 of the zoning ordinance, there is table 742-103.03, residential building type standards. A duplex, 2 units, must have equal to or greater than 7,200 square feet and 60-foot width. This property does not. Again, this is a 45-foot wide lot, 45 feet. Not enough room. So again, is there a hardship here? There's none. The developer could have built one house on the lot after their previous variance petition was denied on February 19, 2019, without any hardship at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any remonstrators? I'm sorry, any more remonstrators present? Okay, let's hear from staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Taft and members of the board. As you're aware, staff is recommending approval of the petition request, but I would first like to get acknowledgement of the fact that the rear setback is no longer needed, so they're withdrawing that portion of the request.
It is acknowledged.
And additionally, they have reduced, or they have increased the open space percentage to 55% as opposed to the 47% listed in the staff report. So firstly, the subject site is 45 feet in width and 4950 square feet lot area. So in terms of our ordinance standards, this is a substandard lot. Staff took into consideration that under the new ordinance standards, that technically they would need a variance for a single family dwelling for not meeting the 5,000 square foot requirement of lot area, and a multi-unit house would also require a variance as well for not meeting that 5,000 square foot lot area. So staff took that into consideration. So regardless, this is a substandard lot. The amount of variances that were first provided to staff have been reduced. So it's now only 2 variances. Additionally, there was a 2018 variance that the remonstrator has referred to. I would just like to kind of talk about that a little bit. That was proposing 2 separate lots, and they were going to be deficient lots. That had a multitude of variances related to that for open space, clear site triangle, or being within the clear site triangle, not meeting separation requirements. And that was for 2 single-family dwellings with detached garages, I believe. Staff did recommend denial of that petition, but under the new standards that we have with the TOD overlay and whatnot, we believe that this, the duplex itself fits the character of, or fits the standards of the D5 district more appropriately, especially since it's now one combined lot. The front yard setback request of 8 feet, the requirement is 10 to 19.9 feet. The 8-foot setback requirement, or front setback requirement, is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. The abutting lots, the one to the west has a 9-foot front setback, and the one to the east has a 0-foot front setback. If you take the average of those two, it's 4.5. I am aware that there is an exception in the ordinance that basically would permit them to have an 8-foot front setback. And this was taken into consideration as well. And when it comes to the open space, they're now requesting 55% open space. They are required to have 60% open space for the duplex requirements. Again, this would be consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. I would also like to refer to the Sanborn map of 1915, which is shown on page 33 of my staff report. There were once 2 single-family dwellings with detached garages on these 2 lots prior, but now it is one combined lot. So staff took this into consideration as well. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Are there any questions of staff? Okay, petitioner, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I will attempt to be brief. Going through some of the remonstrators' comments, with respect to density and overcrowding, I note that the 2019 changes to this ordinance and the zoning of this property is Zone D5. It encourages higher density in this area. This was acknowledged both by staff as well as the Bates-Hendricks Neighborhood Association with respect to the use of this property. There were comments about tree removal. As the board knows, the ordinance maintains a heritage tree ordinance. Trees that will be necessarily protected will be protected. We'll adhere to that ordinance in any construction. There was a comment regarding the streetscape and this structure not being consistent with the streetscape. Looking at the area map, this home will have more open space than any homes neighboring this property, as well as the homes neighboring those properties. There's considerable open space. There's no detached garage. I will make a comment. The neighborhood association did ask that we have a detached garage on this property, and that was part of our initial request, I believe. Staff asked that we not have the detached garage to avoid massing issues and concerns, which is why we removed that from the petition. In terms of the footprint and, again, overcrowding, if this were not a duplex, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe a single-family home could be constructed on the very same footprint that's been requested for this duplex. The ordinance has requested or encourages higher density in this area. We've accomplished that through a proposed duplex on a single non-compliant lot. As staff correctly points out, with respect to the hardship requirement, we would be required to file a variance regardless of what we wanted to build in this location. This lot doesn't satisfy either single family or duplex or multifamily development. So a variance needed to be filed regardless. We think we've satisfied all open space concerns to the extent we can on this particular lot. We're taking a lot that historically had two separate single-family residences, and the variance with respect to that request had been denied. We've accommodated that by resubmitting a couple years later a request to construct a duplex. And the last comment I'll make is with respect to our front yard setback request. That request is based in concerns from the Bates-Hendricks Neighborhood Association. As you'll note from the area map, the home to the east, I believe, has a 0-foot setback. They didn't want to have staggered housing so much, so we pushed our home up a little bit to 8 foot to be consistent with the streetscape and the kind of the feel of that neighborhood. We think this is a proper request, and we would request your approval today.
Are there any questions of the petitioner? Thank you. Let's hear from the remonstrator. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, so what is happening here is a bouncing back and forth between the standards for a duplex, which is the 60 feet, and a 2-unit house, a multi-unit house, and some of these, the TOD and some of the new standards. So at the same time, the petitioner is saying that this plan does not meet the multi-unit standards. He is saying that it's okay to put a duplex here, but it's okay because the neighborhood is moving toward the TOD standards, which this plan does not meet. Further, if this justification of the plan is part of the walkable neighborhood district, it barely meets the neighborhood front yard footage of 20 to 50 feet. So they have 20.5. That's required. There's also a requirement of 50% minimum landscape area, living material, and 1 landscape tree for every 35 foot of lot frontage. A landscape plan is required as well. There is no landscape plan. As a matter of fact, on the plan, the only shrubbery that they show 4 shrubs in the front, and 2 of them are underneath the porch roof. So obviously the developer is not including the landscape plan, which goes back to how can the justification be the TOD overlay if this plan is not following anything the TOD overlay requires. Again, another note, the petitioner said that as far as existing trees, that there's no, now I won't probably word it exactly like you did, but there's nothing to stop people from removing trees. But at the same time, the TOD requirement encourages keeping existing trees. So this again, and he said it's a substandard lot. Go back to the same thing. If this is a substandard lot and it doesn't fit the new requirements, then you cannot put a duplex on this lot. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, we're ready to vote on 2022 DV3014.
2022 DV3014, 4 votes cast. Bradford voted yes. Brown, yes. Taft, yes. Bohannon, no. 3 yes votes, 1 no vote. This petition is approved. (2022) DV3028, 4017 South State Avenue, Perry Township, Council District 24, Zone D3. Uche Onagu is requesting variance of development standards of the Consolidated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance to legally establish a 4-foot screen on top of a 6-foot fence, creating a 10-foot fence, maximum 6-foot fence permitted along the north property line. All persons speaking on this today, please step forward to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty for perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Uche Onagu. I live at 4017 South State Avenue. I did submit some exhibits that I'd hoped would be, okay, there it is. And I think there's probably a clicker that I can use, Heather.
I'm sorry, I do not have one of those here, but if you just ask Mr. Onea to advance, he will take care of that for you.
I would do that. That is perfect. If we could please advance one slide. So, my name is Uche Onagu. I work here in the city as an enterprise architect with the state of Indiana. I have my family, it's here, and also I have a ministry. I've been blessed with a ministry. I've traveled to over 30 countries. We travel and we do these large events just to help people. This is our way of giving back. We are not paid for it, just like you volunteer. We don't get paid anything. We pay to do this. We've been blessed and we feel the way we were raised that this is the way we ought to do. And that's all we want to do with our lives. That's our life's work. So this is this is April. I'm in Nepal. You know, that's me speaking to a pretty large crowd of people on an event. Next slide, please. The same April 17th, I'm in India. We have over 10,000 people as well speaking through my ministry. The next slide, please. And this is actually May. This is the University of Indianapolis, the commencement ceremony, and I was a featured speaker, speaking at that. Next slide, please. That's my daughter. She's the national champion of the gymnastics NGA for her age group. Next slide. My daughter here as well has always been a straight A student. Next slide. And this is my family. And the reason I put this is that the remonstrant is going to try to paint me as some thug, as some guy who doesn't like to obey the laws or obey the stuff. And that's just not who we are. We've never been arrested. We are just, we obey the laws, and it shows. If we were whoever they try to paint us to be, they would never give us a chance to do some of the things that we did. This picture was taken in 2016. This is my family. If they stand up, they are way bigger than that. All of them, way bigger than that now. This is where we live. This is our property. It's still where we live. Now, if you look at that picture behind, you would see a fence. That's the remonstrators' fence. To the left, you would see it's an 8-foot fence. To the right, you can see where it comes down. We didn't have a fence there. We didn't need a fence. So we are here asking for a variance to be able to have a 4-feet screen above our current fence. The reason we're asking for that is reactionary. It's not like we want to. There is one fence there. We don't need another fence, right? And so things were good. Next slide, please. And then look at this, and then this happened. Now, I don't know what someone would have done, would make someone else to do something like this. Why would you do this? Like, there are recourses. You can, if I've done something wrong, you can call the police, you can call the city inspectors, you can sue me and take me to court. And why would you do this? This is where my children play. They are 1-year-old and 2-year-old, 6 years old, in the formative time of their lives. And this is what, as a parent, I have to deal with. It's not just the vandalization of the fence. You can see all the posters there. Keep out, cameras, recording. Why would you do a thing like this? So I have to react as a parent. So you see on the bottom, you see like the wood there. That's me purchasing a new fence, spending the money. So I can build my 6-foot fence, which is compliant. And this will be over. The city inspector came and told them, take those signs down. You are harassing your neighbor. Take it down. And they did. So it's out. I built my fence, life is good, we can go on. Next slide, please. And then about last year, and we came for a variance for this, you begin to see what we had been dealing over the years. I wouldn't call it nosiness, because he took it to another level. This is me driving home from work, coming back from work, and what do I see? I see my neighbor looking directly into my property. I don't know what he's looking for, I don't know what he's looking at, but this is evidence. This is me, because my word against... my word against their word, they win. So I need evidence to show what I'm showing. Next slide, please. So again, we just built a new fence. I was out driving again. I looked into my property. Guess who is on my property looking at the fence? I don't know if he's trying to call the city. It's fine. I took the evidence of this. This is May 11th. Next slide, please. So this is the day after the variance last year, which we got the variance. And so I went up to the school, the university. They have a large building, which is in the staff report. I was at the top floor as a member of the Board of Trustees. And I looked into my property. The whole students, they can see this. And I saw the neighbor looking right into my property, and he stayed there for over 3 minutes. I was shocked. I took a picture. I showed it to my wife. I'm like, what is going on? So we thought maybe he's angry, and maybe he's going to calm down, and this is going to be over. So we didn't take much attention to it. Next slide, please. And then just 3 days later, he debuted something. He stood on his pool. These are videos, actually. And he's clapping, calling out to us in the property. So we took a picture of it, again, hoping that this would go away. Now I want to also show you something. So you can see my white fence down, 6 foot, compliant, beautiful fence. You can see their fence is 8 foot. It's an 8-foot fence. We are not complaining about it. It's fine. They can keep it. No big deal. Next slide, please. The next day, back again. Again, this is a video. I wish I could show videos here. It's going to shock you, but I can only show pictures. So I took screenshots of the videos. They're actually videos. Next slide, please. And this is me walking in my property. And then I look, and guess who's up on his pool again, looking at me and calling out. This is 801. Next slide, please. You see, 3 days later, it's back there again, doing the same thing. Next slide, please. 2 more days later, he's doing the same thing again. I just don't know what this is. So I guess at this point you would say, well, wouldn't you call the police? Yeah, we did call the police. Occasionally when the police comes, they go into their house and they don't open the door. So the police obviously cannot get into their house, but they wrote us police reports. Next slide, please. So when the police finally talked to them, he said he's doing nothing. All he's doing is he's swimming. That's all he's doing. He is swimming. He's not doing anything wrong. So that's fine. Again, they put a motion camera. They have one of these in front. They put it right in the backyard. It doesn't even face their property at all, facing directly. And so it's okay. They can have it. And you can see the fence that they've got. That's not even a wood fence. That's a zinc fence, right? So when my children come out, the motion catches them. And he comes out and starts to make animal sounds at them. And it's actually in my phone, and I'm going to play one of those. I have multiple of these things for you. And I'm going to do it. So he put that there. So we put a screen to block it. Again, this is reactionary. We did not want to do this. This doesn't improve. So we put a screen for the children to block it. Next slide, please. And he just lifted it even higher. So again, we put the screen up and we blocked it. Next slide, please. And so it continued. Now, on the staff report, the staff does mention that other than having a screen, privacy screen, there are other aperturances that we can do. There are other things that we can do to kind of deal with the matter. And look what we've done. We've planted these trees, very expensive trees. High, we try to put stuff on them, but you can see he found a way to go left and continue the same behavior. We're in August now, 22nd. Also, those trees, see how healthy they are. Next slide, please. And then look at what those trees are today. So he went out there, and while he was clearing the bush, pretty much killed those trees. So we are doing the best we can, just trying so hard to give us some privacy. We allowed 6 feet in the back to give us privacy. The human height is about 6 feet. So if you have 6 feet, I guess the ordinance says enjoyment of your property. That's why we have an ordinance. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Siri. So you can see that. Next slide, please. So again, it continues, 822, next slide. 823, again, he says that he is trying to swim. I mean, you can make your own judgment as adults. If this is someone who's dancing, calling out, music is going on. Hey, neighbor, you're like, guy, leave me alone. I don't want anything from you. You don't have to like me. Just leave me alone, please. Next slide, please. So these are some of the police reports that we have filed for this. Next slide. Again, 824, it's almost on a daily basis. And I hope nobody in Indianapolis has to live through this. This is just absurd. It makes no sense to me. I think it's just emotional. Next slide, please. Again, this is another slide. I tried to take a picture of him. He looked away, so it kind of looked like, he is not doing anything to me. But the next slide, and there's my wife up there actually catching him, who is actually waving, because, And so you can see the same thing over and over again. Evidence. Next slide. So then he got a new ladder and put it up there, continued his behavior. Next slide, please. You can see he's closed his pool. The pool is closed. This is in September now, but still he's up there. So we called the police again. Now he said he was fixing his fence. So next slide, please. And he's still fixing his fence. This is all the way in October. Next slide, please. So we did, again, what are we going to do? What is our recourse? We went to the lawyers. We told them all the evidence. We said, please, we don't want it. We're just asking to leave us alone. I think the law should protect us. So the lawyers sent a cease and desist letter, which they received, highlighting every of this behavior that I've told you. And there's more, but I wouldn't go into that. I'm just going to limit this to this fence. I can go through a lot more evidence, which we have. But so listed it, cease and desist. Don't do this. This is not allowed. Next slide, please. On October 26th, he's back on his ladder again, I guess working on his fence, or calling out to us and harassing us. My daughter, 14 years old at the time, was in the back. And she was working in the pool, and he's calling at her, hey, neighbor, you're 14 years old. It's like, leave the children alone. For me and my wife, we can handle this. This is not, we've seen worse. This is even nothing. But for those little children, I think that's really sad. Next slide, please. So he installed this light in the back. His camera in the front has motion, so whenever we come home, whenever we go to the back, we have to turn on our phone so we can record the sounds. He makes the sounds, he turns the light on, right? And you can still see the fence. Next slide, please. So then he put up a bird's nest. That's an awkward place to put a bird's nest. It has the size, it can fit a camera, and that thing is facing directly at my door. This is April 2009. I had traveled, I was out of the country, so it's just my wife and the kids. Of course, I'm concerned about them, being their behavior, so I asked my friend Kit, and Kit is here. Kit, if you don't mind, could you please step forward, state your name, address, and if you can just briefly explain some of the situations around this.
Hi, my name's Keith Kors. My address is 1949 Pasadena Avenue, or Street. At this time, I was called to come over because they were worried about the birdhouse coming up, and so I came over, and to help, the children came behind me, and they were afraid. That's the whole reason I'm here. They're adults, they can deal with it, but you can see how well behaved these children are. They were very good children, and so I came over, and they cowered behind me, looking at this, was intimidated. So I took it and raised it up, and just being under testimony or whatever, when I put it up, there was a nailing, banging on the other side there. I don't think they realized it was me. I think they think it was a wife doing it with the kids. So I went, I thought, well, we could have some kind of communications or be able to talk to them or something. And being brought up Catholic, and the last name Kors, I know they go to church with my cousins and that. So I went to talk to the priest about it to see if we could just resolve the problem, just get the communications going. And the priest said he would give him a call and that, and I got other people that go to their church. And I thought, well, that would resolve it. He raised it again. They called, was concerned. The kids again were cowering behind. not only that, I have a picture on my phone. I turned it off out of respect, but I could show you. He not only raised it up again, he put a sign, because they have these things going down their yard to protect the kids. At the very end, you can't put one, and there's a swing set there. He put a sign up that says, smile, you're on camera. It's very intimidating for these kids here. And they'll tell you, I mean, it's just incredible. So I'm here for the children. And so I raised it again that day, and it came out and started banging on the pipe and was saying things, just mumbling and that. And I just told him, I said, you're silly. I said, this is silly what's going on. You know, it really is. It's just silly. I said, I talked to your priest. I said, you know, this really just needs to be resolved. He's more than willing to talk to them and resolve all this for the kids, but this hasn't happened. So it's really, I'm here because of the children. It's very intimidating. I mean, you can see they're well-behaved kids. They've been sitting here the whole time. And it's not like they're causing any problem at all. I'm just coming here for the children and for protection for their family. And as I always pray, I pray that this would be resolved and they can get together and this would just go away. But for right now, they just need some protection with this. And I do pray that it'd be resolved in the future. And I pray for them too. So that's just talking from my heart and, you know, just letting you know.
Thank you, Kate. Next slide, please. Again, this is the signs that he had talked about. Next slide. That sign is up there today, even though they had told them to take those things down. You are harassing your neighbor. That is up there as I speak right now. We have to see this every day. Next slide, please. There's a hole in the wall. When I was traveling, this was in March. So when my wife comes home, he peeps through the wall. He's got an 8-foot fence. And when he sees how he does his sound, so I found it, and I closed that with the screen that I'm asking for a variance right now. Next slide, please. And then he put a camera up in a flag in his, I don't know, his flag. I don't know what I can do about that one. I don't know if I should laugh or if I should cry, but it is what it is. This is my property. I think the staff saw it in their staff visits. Next slide, please. Again, this is him. Next slide. There's a letter of support of a lady who said she saw them. Next slide. And you can see her there as well, and that's in the letter of support. So it's just, again, my wife and I, we can handle this. We are not intimidated. This is nothing. We can run this all. I mean, we're going to deal with this when we get back home. But the screen is just so the children can play in the back and not be afraid that someone is watching them while they pray. Thank you very much, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions of the petitioner? Okay, let's hear from the remonstrators.
Good afternoon. My name's Wanda Ladd. I live right next door to Uche, and that's my property he's showing you pictures of. I apologize for Uche because he likes to lie a lot. I hate to say that. I wasn't raised that way, but that's what it all boils down to. He will take a rock and he'll change it into a boulder right in front of you with his words, with his pictures that aren't true. As I mentioned, the trash can, my husband was bringing in the trash can. Uche just likes, he takes so many pictures of us. He's got a second story, and most of those pictures were taken from the second story. We have no privacy whatsoever because of the two-story. He's asking for a variance to put up a screen, and I'm sorry. The reason he wants the screen is because the city's been coming down on him, and they asked to use our yard to take photos because he won't allow them in his yard now unless they have a warrant or he gives them permission. I have several letters that, and he's been cited numerous times. We have never been cited. Yes, we've had the city come out because he got mad at us and our other neighbors if they called the city on him. He says it's his property and he'll do as he pleases. Well, he's gotten by so far with it. He just doesn't want the city to be able to come into our property and look and take photos of his. Secondly, it's about the ugliest fence you'd want to see. He's put it up with screens and the cheapest 1x4s, and this man makes a mint. He has Airbnbs. He has 2 on his property. He's getting ready to add a 3rd one. And then he just brings people in constantly. He calls it a RV that's in his backyard, but it's not. It's a trailer. And I have information from the city stating that. And one conversation I would like to read to you, because you can go up and access it. But he said, a lady stopped one day, and I was on the front porch. And she told him that she stopped to check on permits due to concrete bags and a crew running a concrete mixer in the driveway. They have a permit for an addition to the garage. The foundation inspection was NID'd. The foundation is not being completed to plans. So I called Doug to see if we can get someone out to look at it. We do not have the inspectors to come and look at this. The back of the building is also not per the plans. So Uche is making plans, submitting them, getting a permit, and then he's not doing it the way he should. And that's what it boils down to. He doesn't want anyone in the city to come, and he feels like they're looking through our yard, which we've told them if they need access, we'd be more than glad to give them access. We want to obey the laws and have things done correctly, because that's a safety hazard no matter where it's at and who's doing it. And we're getting ready to make some changes on our location. We're going to be moving up because his second story, he sees us everywhere we're at. My husband with clothes on at the pool, we can't even get in our swimming pool with a swimming suit on now. He raises the window, he hollers at us, he tells us to shut up and get in our house. He doesn't want us outside. And yes, he does it when people's not around. He knows what he's doing. It just upsets me that he would come in here and lie to you. Those pictures he showed you are the same pictures he showed last year. So I'm assuming he's saying, well, I got my variance last year, which he didn't use for the request that he wanted. He was going to use his garage and turn it into office space. But now he's changed it, and he's going to make a family unit and eventually turn it into an Airbnb. And we have to deal with this. And I would just ask, the wooden fence that he shows is 8.5 feet that we have. It was put up in 1980. So there was no zoning at that time regarding the height of anything. So we had it, and Uche didn't like that. His is like 2 feet higher than ours. And if you see the pictures, and I have pictures if you'd like to see them, because I didn't know about a screen that we could use or whatever. But you can see, and our swimming pool is on the other side of our property. It's nowhere near his side of the property. And he's always coming to us and harassing us. And he comes all the way across his yard to our location, because we're north of him, and his entrance to his home is south. So he is always bothering us. He wants us to move. He's told us that we are his employee, and we actually should bow down to him. And we're not going to do it. My husband and I have been married 53 years. I'm in my 70s. My husband is. We have been there 46. We'll be 46 years next month. We don't bother anyone. And it was brought up about I had asked for a continuance. I did last year because there were addresses that were not on the slips to be sent out. Well, this year, I think it's odd that I, being his neighbor, did not receive that. Another neighbor brought it to me, but then when I questioned the neighbors on Hannah Avenue, they had not received it. So there ought to be some way of safeguarding to make sure if it is the mail service, there might have been 50 more people here. I don't know how many he actually sent out. I don't think that a petitioner should be doing that. I think he should be paying to make sure that it is maybe certified and that the people get it. It's just, and he mentions noise. How is that screen? It's like what you buy for your garden or something that's put up there. How is that going to protect him from any type of noise? I do not know. We have lived next to these people, and what happened is he got in our backyard, and after he did that, he's been wacko. That's been like, it's going on 3 years now. He's just went crazy. They bought the home in '06, and they had rented it 5 or 6 years prior to that. We never had a problem. It's because he wants it done his way. He doesn't want it inspected the way he wants it. He wants to tell you how it is. Not how it should be or how he plans on doing it, but how he wants it to be. I'm very upset over this, and I do not like the lies. They don't like anything we do. We sit on our front porch. The shrubs he's talking about, he had to move them from the front yard, and he put them in the back. How many shrubs have you had 10, 15 years, and when you moved them, they never made it? That's where he got the shrubs from the front. The city told him he was blocking us from seeing, from getting out of our house. And it's just a shame that we've had to live and put up with this man. And I don't know how to resolve the issue. We are trying to do so. We've got several ideas, and we're going to see which one's the best. But I have pictures showing him the second level of his house that he keeps taking the pictures from. He raises this window right here, and he hollers at us. One day he even hollered, "Your neighbors are in my trailer." What did that have anything to do with what was going on? Your neighbors are in my trailer. These are the shrubs that he moved in front to the back. And he did them one at a time, as I gave him credit on the last hearing. He moved them one at a time and set them back there, but they never made it. I had shrubs that my husband moved some of our shrubs, and they didn't make it. And as far as the signs of the BLM and the LGBTQ, Uche put these signs in our front yard down the driveway. People actually thought we had put them up. I could not believe that someone would think that we had put them up toward our driveway. And then he had constructed a 6-foot fence in the front yard. And on the 6-foot fence, he posted more signs. And so in response, my husband painted that on our fence in hopes that he would do something and maybe put up a fence, and he did. He all the time wanted us to repair our fence, paint it, put up new fence. We said, hey, we're on a fixed income. We can't just up and do this kind of stuff. I added his 4 properties, or excuse me, 3. He makes an amount of approximately $400 a night on his properties. You multiply that times 7 nights, because he's packed every night. That's about $2,800 a week. Multiply that by 4 weeks, $11,200 times 12 months. The man is bringing in $134,000, and he wants to put up a fence that looks like that. Some of the wood is not even together. It sways when the wind blows, and we're afraid also of fire hazard. If someone puts up a fireworks or something and it lands on that screen, what is it going to do at that point? If he is given this request, we would ask that he have to put up a different type of structure, and that he would plant shrubs on our side, because on his side the shrubs hide that big screen, but we have to look at it. Do you have any questions for me?
Are there any questions of the remonstrator? Thank you. Let's hear from staff.
Thank you, Chairperson Taft, members of the board. The zoning ordinance requires that fences not exceed 6 feet in height to the rear of the primary dwelling to ensure that lots maintain residential qualities and characteristics and not be seen as commercial or industrial in nature, or create a compound aesthetic within residential neighborhoods. Since this request would provide for a fence taller than 6 feet, staff is recommending denial, and we'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Are there any questions of staff? All right, we have petitioner, you have 5 minutes to sum up.
Thank you, and I hope I can lift the mood up here. I wish I could have told you how contentious this was going to be, and this is not me. I'm a motivational person, but I'll try the best that I can. Staff has been to my home for their visit, and it's a question that I can ask staff to see if I stopped them in any way. And the remonstrator said I don't let people come into my home, and yet I let people come into my home because they are staying in. I mean, whichever way you figure it out, that's fine. She knows everybody that comes into my property. I guess that answers all the questions. She even knows how much I make. I don't even know how much. She knows everything. So she's the expert on everything that I do. I don't even want to remonstrate on that. I only have 5 minutes. I can't go over there. My architect is here. The builder is here who helped me to say that somehow we are doing something. The city has processes. If you get a permit and you're building, they have multiple ways that they can stop that. So I'll just let her go out with that. I'm just trying to answer some of the things that she said. I can't go through all of them. I wish you would enter those things into record. Everything, I've put it into record, so I haven't seen those pictures, so I would like to vet them to make sure that they're okay. So they talk about the slips. I don't control the slips. The staff gives me the names of people around to send it. That is the same process they use for everybody that stands up here. I don't have a special process. I did what I needed to do. And again, I have letters of support from people that actually got the letter. So again, I can stay here and we can go back and forth. I think you guys have better things to do. If it's the noise, I'm going to have someone speak about the noise and we can find out who is making the noise. But, you know, I've gotten into their property. I wish something would be out in the screen. Last year she was here. She said she didn't know we had a screen. Today she's here and you heard it for yourself. She doesn't know we have a screen. You know, at the score, if you can please pull up my presentation, I would like to go to the additional, sir, what's his name, sir? I forget his name. Yeah, if you could go to the next slide, please. And just go next slide. This is my son having a birthday party, and you can kind of see the back bill is like the 16th parallel. We don't hate these people, we cannot. It makes no sense why this is happening. It's emotional. My parents were able to shelter me from this, and my biggest regret, my shame here, is that I've not been able to shelter these people in their formative years from these kinds of behaviors. I tell them, well, at least you're going to learn that this is where the world is. They are here, they are watching, they are learning. It's just really sad. It breaks my heart that I couldn't, with the money that I've spent on that property, I've not been able to shelter them from this kind of behavior. Next slide, please. Go again. One more slide. So this is the ratings. The rating is a 1. This is the lowest. There's no, the wood, if you need fire to burn, you need wood. So the fence rates really higher than the privacy screen. So I had to pull this as evidence because I anticipated they would say something about that. And so they've got a higher fence. Wood is old. That's not a fire hazard. I haven't complained about it. The privacy screen is sold in Menards, and it has the lowest. So I had to bring it can't burn unless you actually pressurize it. So I had to bring that. Next slide, please. These are supports from neighbors that got the letters. James Green. Next slide. These are the 3 latest leaders of the University Heights Association. And one is the leader of the South Indy. They looked at this in your file. They have letters of support, and they're all just saying, you know, we've seen this, help this guy. We are aware of this situation. The entire neighborhood is aware of this situation. Next slide, please. This is my neighbor to the right, where, you know, so they are the neighbors to the left. He's the neighbor to the right. In your docket is a letter of support saying, you know, support this guy. I see what is going on. This is not the way it needs to be. Next slide, please. There's a letter on your docket from the University of Indianapolis. These are the big, they own all the lands there, pretty much. They own the houses to their right. They own multiple properties there. This came from the president of the University of Indianapolis. It's in your docket saying, please support these people. So, next slide, please. And then this is 2018 DV 1027. This came before this board in 2018. The gentleman, Joseph, he applied for a variance to keep his fence. I think he had an 8-foot fence. And he came here, I watched the video. He talked about his dogs. He has 100-pound dogs, and he doesn't want them going out. Of course, staff recommended denial. I mean, it's very hard for you to see a fence where they would recommend. In fact, I had called in January to staff asking about this, and they told me. that usually we will say denial, but if you've got the support of your neighbors, we don't make that decision. You come before the board, let them know what's going on. That's going to be their decision. So I knew staff was going to, when I filed this, I knew that, but we had no other choice. We've gone through many other places, and we're still going through the avenues. But I want my children to know that we're going it through the legal way. Next slide, please. And so Joseph talked about that, and I asked Joseph, I said, he asked me where I lived. I told him where I lived. He knew where I lived, and he said that the person that lived there before me had a contentious relationship with them. It was a horrible stink over there. The person I purchased from said the same thing. So for the kids, just let them get some privacy. Let them not think of anybody. And this is just behind my house. There's no front line of triangle, side of triangle. This is in the back. This is on one side. My other places is all 6 feet. So that's just where it is. So we're asking that you help so that we can continue to live there and do the good work that we've done. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the petitioner? Okay, let's hear it. 5 minutes for the remonstrator.
I would like to address the birdhouse issue. I didn't see this man. I do not know the man that was up here telling about the birdhouse. We did put the birdhouse up because you can't see it from our other side. And when we put it up, we noticed that they had put a screen up above it. Well, you think about a bird flying into that house. If they come out, I don't know about birds' eyes or what they're doing, they could hurt themselves flying into that. So we raised it the next day. And then that night we come home, it was back up. So that's the situation on the birdhouse. Uche claims to be a good neighbor and wanting to get this stuff ended, and I'm talking stuff because, like I say, all he's done is lied, and he builds up. He's got all this time. He's into computers. We're 70 in our 70s. We're not out doing stuff like that. We're in our home trying to live our last days out and be with each other. We keep our property up. We've got other neighbors around us, and they were the ones that didn't receive the notice that the screen would affect them too. They think it's horrible looking, everybody I know. But Uche sends out a letter, and he says, "Dear neighbor, this year has flown, it seems. Thank you for being a great neighbor and for your previous variant support." So right there he's letting them know, I'm back asking for something else. Last year, the day after we granted a variance from the city, the aggressor, he's talking me and my husband, stood on his above-ground pool ladder for several minutes looking at our backyard while we worked on landscaping. That is not true. We have an above-ground pool. You have to get on the ladder to get in the pool. Well, we see our neighbors all the time, and we're waving at them if we're up there. And the people that live in the back, it's the same way. They've seen us for years. We've had a pool for probably 35, 40 years. And we've always done that. But he makes accusations. Like I say, he takes a picture and he can make it into a molehill or something. This continued almost daily and deteriorated further into clapping at us while on our ladder. We don't clap at them while we're on our ladder. We do play music. My husband can clap at a song. I mean, we're not gone yet. We do enjoy life as much as we can. Playing very loud music and signaling to my family, even our 15-year-old daughter, from over the fence. Also, a light was installed. We've always had lights on our shed. We have a dog that has one eye. When we let her out, we try to light up the ground so she knows where she's going and what she needs to do. So those lights never bothered him before. They only started bothering him once he brought in a trailer, and he did not want the city to come in anymore. Also, and that's where he talks about the light. When the camera detects the motion, the privacy screen has been very helpful in giving my family privacy. This is all because he doesn't want the city to come in. But would you send a letter like this to all of your neighbors about your neighbor next door? I mean, to me, this is libel. To say these things when they're not true. And I don't know how you deal with someone that doesn't tell the truth. Because if you got the truth, somebody is going to be pointed out that, yes, they're telling the truth, and the other person's lying. But I just can't imagine anybody. I would never do this. And we are responding to these. We're responding to all of our neighbors. We're going to respond to everyone, and we're doing as much as we can to live in that neighborhood as we have in the past. I thank you for your time.
Are there any questions of the remonstrator? Okay. Well, this has been a little bit of a different case than we usually hear, so I think unless there are questions, we are ready to vote. (2022) DV3 028, 4 votes cast. Radford voted yes. Brown, no. Taft, yes. Bohannon, yes. 3 yes votes, 1 no vote. This variance is approved. Is there any other matter to come before the board?
There is. I have revised findings of fact and 1 set of negative findings of fact.
Did I say one thing? Last week, Uche said to me...
You'll need to follow up with the staff on the hearing.
I just wanted to say that Uche said to me, don't you worry about going to that hearing, because I have friends in high places.
I think that the hearing,
I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, thank you. You need to talk outside. Thank you.
At the June 21st, 2022 hearing, there were petitions that were continued for the adoption of revised findings of fact, and I have those today for you, being 2022 DV3 009A, 2022 DV3 017, 2022 DV3 0... Okay, now I'm confused. I have been provided, typo, negative findings of fact for 2022 DV3019, and with that, I have no additional business.
We are adjourned.